This week, we discuss a growing trend and how it may redefine what is considered a couple. Also, even though we have 4 failed marriages between us, a listener still asks for our advice on marriage. Welcome to the talking phase. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Talking Phase podcast. My name is Tom. I am so excited about our show this week. We have a great show planned. I literally can't wait to get into it. But before we do, I am going to do one thing and ask everybody who's listening right now, even though we're 5 seconds into the show, take a minute and rate and review the show. If you like what we're doing, you like what you've heard before this in previous episodes, tell us about it. Love to hear from you. In the meantime, while you're doing that, Pam, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good this week. I'm actually reveling in the cooler temperatures. The heat is on. You can sing that if you want. The heat is on.
Yeah, what is that?
I think it was like a Eddie Murphy movie way back in the day. But yeah, these cooler temperatures in North Carolina are not my favorite normally, but I drew out the electric blanket a little early and I'm enjoying. The leaves are changing here. It's absolutely beautiful. Halloween is right around the corner. And I think that
what are we laughing at?
I can't remember whether we've already celebrated Halloween or not. I literally don't. Stop, Brian. This has never happened.
By the way, everybody, this goes to show you we record these things sometimes days in advance, sometimes weeks in advance. The bottom line is we're recording this a couple of days before Halloween.
I'm cracking myself up. I'm like, fuck, has it been Halloween yet? Well, hey, I hope everybody had a great Halloween. I'm positive that our Halloween is epic. We're going to have a big pizza party here. Or we did have a big pizza party here. Candy, kids, even Zach is coming home because he likes to hand out the candy. So yeah, we're in the vibe here. And obviously I am a little tired or a little slow today or something. I just cracked myself up. What's going on with you, Tom? Please take it away from me for a few minutes.
Well, as most people know, because we talked about it on last week's show, and then I've made a couple of TikToks about it. I am a couple of days away from moving to Utah. I am going back to Utah. And what's crazy about it is I was talking to a friend of mine. By the time this drops, I will have been in Utah for, I don't know, a week or two. Depends on when this drops. But a friend of mine texted me today and she said, "Hey, you like Queensryche, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I love Queensryche." I mean, anybody who doesn't know Queensryche, band from the 80s, wonderful music. Actually, it's not. My parents hated
I've never even heard of them.
Really?
80s. Yeah, no, I've never.
I'll bet you'd recognize some of their songs.
Heavy metal?
Not really. So, okay. I don't know. Maybe
I'll have to look them up.
It's not Metallica heavy. It's anyway. They're playing in Salt Lake, and then she said, "Hey, I was supposed to go to Denver, but I have an extra ticket. You want to go?" So I'm going to be in Salt Lake for literally 24 hours, and I'm going to go see a concert. And I haven't seen
already better.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single concert here in Atlanta. So I'm pretty excited about that. The only other thing that's been going on, as I always say, crap work is amazing. Spent 3 days on the road with Brian last week. We were in Tennessee, held 2 amazing training events. And what's crazy, I got a brand new TV out of the deal.
That's great.
Here's what happened. I got to tell the story. Here's a little hint for anybody who ever has to rent AV equipment. So we did one of these shows in a hotel, and we were in a conference room, and they charged us $350 just to turn the TV on. We rented the TV for 2 hours, and it cost $350. The second venue didn't have any AV equipment, so we had to bring our own. So we stopped at Walmart and bought a 70-inch TV for less than $300. So it cost us less to buy one than to rent it. And I threw it in the car, and I have a brand new TV out of that deal. So
awesome. Congratulations on your purchase.
Thank you.
And on your move. I'm sure that Salt Lake City is waiting for you.
Oh, yeah. A bunch of people have said they're going to try and get me baptized again.
I've been singing in my head, "Welcome to New York," but you're not going to New York. But I can't get Taylor Swift out of my head ever since that concert. All I do is wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I have a Taylor Swift song back in my head. It's
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I try not
to. She's putting some drugs into those songs. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
cooler temperatures. Now we don't have any more trips planned until next year. And I'll wait to talk about those because I'm really excited about what we're planning for next May. But as of right now, we're just in town, which is not very exciting until the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, not everyone can travel all the time, right?
Or move. Just
Right. That's
jump
true.
up and move to another state, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty nomadic and I travel light. So with that, Brian, what's going on, man?
Oh, just traveling across God's green earth with you, Tom. Beyond that, though, yeah, just living the dream. I think, looking at Halloween, because I don't know if we know whether or not Halloween's happened or not.
It
LOL,
has happened. Look, this is November 8th is when this episode drops. So I hope you enjoyed Halloween.
Well, so that's the thing too, is I have a little girl. She's just about 2 years old or so. So for me, that's the holidays more for her, right? And
Sure.
we ended up, I know before. So as we're recording today, we really did our Halloween festivities actually a couple weeks ago. Downtown where I live here in Indiana had like a little community Halloween trick or treat thing where they shut down the entire like core of the city. It's like a city of 20,000 people, and all the businesses had little things where you could stop by and they would do the trick or treat, and you could get like a special thing for the business. Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. And my daughter, she's still kind of learning like what trick or treat is. But she had a blast. So yeah, it was fun. Like at this point though, it's more for the kids, which I love. So yeah, it was a good Halloween.
I disagree. I enjoy Halloween much more now as an adult than, well, I loved it when the kids were small, but then they hit that age where they didn't want us to go out trick or treating with them. They just went by themselves. But now, I mean, like this past weekend, we went, there was an event close to my house called Witches Night Out. And 5 of my friends, we didn't dress up as witches, but a lot of people did. But this area was like almost all females, but crowded, and everybody was dressed up as a witch. And all the stores stayed open and the bars had live music, and you just kind of walked. Tom, when you were visiting in town, I had taken you to that area in Apex, like downtown Apex. You probably don't remember it. It's really small.
That's where the ice cream place was, right?
There is an ice cream place there, but not Sunny Skies.
No, but it's the one where they screwed up Adam's drink.
Oh, that's exactly where it is. Yes.
Yeah.
And so they closed down that whole street and everybody was dressed up as witches, and we shopped and we drank. And honest to God, we have such a good time celebrating Halloween. We didn't do any big parties this year, but even just Witches Night Out.
Yeah.
Witches Night Out, whatever.
Well, I'm going to be celebrating Halloween this year in Columbia, I think it's called, Missouri, just west of St. Louis, as I drive to Utah. So
well, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I had mentioned to you that I have been coming across a bunch of different TikToks and articles, and all of a sudden, there seems to be a new trend kind of arising out of nowhere. And it's funny. I've been listening to the video, so I guess I'm on that side of TikTok right now because, since my divorce, when I look back on my marriage and I think about what it was like to live with my husband, it was horrible. Especially in the end. I mean, obviously I'm divorced, but in the end, it was a constant battle over the thermostat, over where to put something or when something should be done. The snoring that was coming out of the other side of that bed, was impossible to sleep next to him. And I said, once I'm single and I'm dating and all of that fun, exciting stuff that I thought was ahead of me, I would be okay. Not only not remarrying because I'm not having kids, so I don't really feel the need to sign a contract. But I have a couple friend that have been together, I think 8 or 9 years now, and they live in their own homes. They spend 80% of their time together, but they each have their own home. And I've always thought it was kind of weird. Like, why would you do that? And so when I talked to her, she says, it's the greatest thing ever because we spend as much time together as we want. They're financially independent, so they don't need each other to split the bills. And when they want a break or when they want some space or their own time, they go back to their own homes. But she's decorated her house exactly how she wants to. She has as many cats as she wants to. People can come over any time of day without bothering him. It sounded really crazy to me. And then I started seeing these videos, and there's an actual name for it. It's called living apart together. And the couples are in a serious relationship. They're monogamous. They're not dating other people. The only difference is that they're living, they own their own home. However much time they spend together is by choice instead of by obligation. And when I think about that, I was thinking, you know what? That sounds pretty great. Somebody can have their stuff wherever they want in the kitchen. They can do their yard however they want to. If I needed somebody to pay my bills, or if I needed somebody to help me raise my kids or something like that, that's different. But at 57, I'm pretty settled. I've been in my house for 18 years. And the thought of having somebody here whenever we want to be together, but also having my own space and my own bed, I don't know. It has a certain appeal to me. So I hadn't talked to you about it. So I thought I would see where you stand on living apart together, and see if you agree with me that sounds like a pretty glorious thing.
Yes and no. So, I wrote down, just as you were talking, I wrote down three things. You said 80%. They spend 80% of their time together, but then you went right into she can decorate however she wants to.
Right.
And I thought, and again, decorations is what you said, but so if they disagree, then either, and he has like, country western theme and she has a Taylor Swift theme in her house, for
Right.
example, that means that 80% of the time one of them is upset or dissatisfied with the decor. And again, decor is
Oh,
just the subject matter, not I don't think too many guys really give a shit. But
but I
what
was going to say, why would anybody care? Like, if I'm going to your house and it's decorated how you like it, I'm just happy to, when I go back to my own house, it's how I like it. Why do I care how somebody else
well, but
decorates?
it's 80% of the time we're going to worry about the thermostat.
Well, I guess that would still be an issue. My biggest issue with the thermostat is when I'm sleeping. Because I can put a sweatshirt on during the day, but when I go to sleep at night, I like to sleep in like shorts and a tank top or an underwear. And you need the temperature to be warm enough to do that.
Yeah.
So
By the way, I just saw a TikTok today where somebody said they were interviewing this guy and they said, well, how hot do you want it at night? And he said, oh, I like it perfect. And they said, what is perfect to you? And he goes, oh, 77. And this guy
oh my
breaks in and
God.
goes, Satan doesn't sleep at 77 degrees.
Well, there's a big difference though. Is it when the AC's on, 77 runs pretty nice and cool in my house. But in the winter, if I put it on 77, it would be boiling hot.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't say. I just thought that was funny because 77 that's like the surface of the sun as far as I'm concerned. But it's an interesting thing you said that because they're not living together, they're together by choice, not by obligation.
Right.
And then there's even if you do have a house together, there's no obligation. You don't have to spend all your time together.
Eh,
I mean,
but somebody can come in. You could want some private time in your bedroom. And if your husband needs something out, or your significant other needs something out of the room, they're coming in. You can't be
well,
positive no one's coming in.
there was a trend going for several years. I haven't bought a house in a long time, but there was a trend going along for a long time that two masters. So there are two master bedrooms, or I guess they call them en suites now, two en suites in the house. So just for that reason. So
that would
it's kind of
also
that
be
happy medium.
appealing. Yeah, that
So,
would
but
also be appealing.
here's my question about this living apart together thing.
Okay.
And I know to me, I'm not even sure I consider, I mean, yes, they're a couple because they're monogamous and they're only seeing each other, but are they truly partners at that point?
Why not?
Is that, well, what are they partnered in? They show
Well,
up
I
and eat
mean,
dinner together and fuck, I assume. But other than that, they're not sharing finances. They're not sharing decisions. They're not sharing anything other than some time and sex and food, probably.
yeah, but you've stated many times that you don't want to marry again.
Oh, no,
So,
for sure.
I mean, you could live with somebody and also pay your own bills. I mean, what's romantic about splitting the bills?
Oh,
I
I didn't say
mean,
anything about romantic. I just
I mean,
asked,
but
is
like,
it a true partnership?
in my opinion, I could be 100% committed to somebody and in a great relationship with them, even though we don't live under the same roof. I can't even imagine how in your 50s, when your kids are adults and you're kind of, again, this is not for people right out of the gate. Nikki and Adam should still get engaged and get married and live together and all that good stuff. But once you're married and you're divorced and your kids are grown, I don't think a relationship is at all dictated by living together or living together apart. I mean,
Well, I'm going to
I,
ask one more time.
okay.
Partnership. Are they partners? And people say, I want a partner. I want a life partner.
All right. Let me think about that second. So are they partners? So what makes a couple partners?
I don't know.
Is it paying the bills, splitting the bills? Is it living? I mean, to me, a partnership can be more of a romantic partnership. Like, where do you want to go on vacation? What do you want for dinner? What would you like to do tonight? Or would you like to, tonight I'd like to go out with my friends and then I'm just going to crash at my house and I'll see you tomorrow night. I mean, I'm not saying there should be continued communication. I mean, I'm looking at this like as serious a relationship can be without marriage and without living together. So this is still your person. I still love this person. I just have my own space and they have their own space. I see you laughing. I don't know
Well,
how you're not a partner, how you're not partners just because you're not living under the same roof.
well, no, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I'm not advocating one way or another. I actually like the idea, to be honest with you. I'm not saying you're wrong or that people are stupid. I'm questioning. And even you in your last sentence, the reason you saw me laughing is you
Yeah.
said, um, they're just as close as anyone, even though they're not. And you gave two things, but the second one was even though they don't live together. So basically you in your brain, whether you recognized it or not, you basically acknowledge that not living together. Oh, that's what they're close. They're as close as anyone I've met, even though they don't live together. Anyway, I
Right.
should have played it back. But the point is, you're living together. Let me go back to my first marriage.
Okay.
I snored like a beast. And so she would, we'd go to bed together. And then within minutes, I was getting booted out of bed. You got to go sleep in the other room. And so that went on for years. And after however many years of that, I finally just said, well, fuck that. And I just started sleeping in the other room. I'd kiss her goodnight and I would go in the other room. It's like, good night. And then I'd go to the other room. And I look back on my first marriage and I see that is the beginning of the end, because there's something about the marital bed, at least for me. I don't think that people who don't live together can be as close as those who do. I personally believe that, although I really like the idea. I just don't see how it's possible.
I mean, I haven't done it and you haven't done it,
Right.
but everybody I know, well, it's two couples. Everybody I know, the whole two couples that I know that do it. One of the couples, I mean, in both scenarios, would I say it's a perfect situation? I would say no, it's not a perfect situation. But when I look at both of those couples, actually, them living together full time would probably be a deal breaker for the relationship. I think it's that space that they've allotted for their own thing. Like they work separately. They don't both work from home. And so they work in their own spaces. And then they're together all the time. And I'm going to bring my dad into this because my dad lives in senior living. He's 81 years old. My mom passed away 3 years ago. I know he didn't have any intention of being in another relationship, but alas, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. He met a woman and she lives on a different floor than him in the same building. The building, I think, has like 7 or 8 floors. I'm not sure. And they have a great relationship for all intent and purposes. These two people who have lived very full lives, both lost their spouses, live in their own condos. Beautiful. They both have beautiful condos. They pay their own bills. My dad and his girlfriend get up during the day. They say good morning to each other via text or phone, have a conversation. What are you doing today? They do their own thing. She's very busy. He's golfing. He's very busy. And every day they meet for dinner. And then they go out with friends. They go back to one of their houses. They watch TV together. And when the evening is concluded, whatever that means, they go back to their own houses. They love having their own bedrooms. They've both said they never want to remarry. They never want, people do move in together in this community. They don't want to live together. It's honestly, listening to them talk about it, especially my dad, it's ideal. It's the perfect situation for couples who are at that point in their lives, 40 or older, kids are grown, have enough financial independence to not need somebody to help them pay the bills. And just are set in their ways maybe, but really want that partnership in the respect of romance, travel, spending quality time together. So you're getting all of your needs met. You're just not falling asleep in the marital bed, which you can't even say marital bed because you don't want to get married again. So it's just the bed.
The bed. Yeah. The couple bed.
So what
Yeah.
about, so let me ask you this. What about falling asleep in the same bed and waking up in the same bed in the morning? Is it because in the morning you want to roll over and hold your partner and kiss them and feel that connection in the morning before you get up and start your day?
No, I've never been with anyone who wants to wake up as early as me. So I tend to roll out of bed and try to be quiet as a church mouse. So no, I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's the fact that if you're leaving the room before you even get in bed, maybe it's like you've eliminated any chance for sex.
Well, what if you no, oh no. I'm absolutely not advocating for that. I'm saying you can have sex and you can cuddle, and then most people at our age and probably younger really prefer to roll over and go to sleep. What's the difference if they
Well, I'm talking about like in my marriage.
okay.
The fact that I would just say goodnight and leave meant that there was no, it basically
I
eliminated that
see.
possibility. I'm not
Right.
I'm not projecting that onto others. I'm saying in
And
my
I'm
own.
not saying no sleepovers either. I know that all of these couples do sleepovers, but at the same time, I think that you can have a great time. When we're just dating somebody, we're
Mhm.
not having sex with them just because it's early days, but a lot of the time we're getting in our car or they are and going home.
Yeah.
I'm just saying maybe this is a better plan for people who are set in their ways and don't want to relocate, move their shit around, make room for somebody else in their home. I don't know. My kids come home, like my son will come home from college and he's home all summer and holidays. And then he's going to graduate and he's going to be home permanently. I try to imagine what living with somebody with my 21-year-old, maybe 22, 23, however long he's home, what does that look like? And I think it probably is more comfortable, if not for myself and my son, but it's more comfortable for whoever this man is to have his own place. And I'm not saying that in the perfect situation that if I was in a relationship and it was excellent and the only way for this relationship to continue was to live together, that I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. No way. I'm just saying that after really listening to these messages and these videos and then reading a couple articles and talking to my friends, I think that it sounds incredibly appealing.
So I will say one thing about this. First off, again, like I've said, I don't disagree. There's a certain amount of appeal to that. It wouldn't have been in my 20s or 30s, but I think in my 50s I can totally see this. It would have to be pretty damn close, like your dad and his girlfriend.
Right.
They're 2 floors apart or whatever it is. So I mean,
Right.
it's an easy walk. Whereas, unless somebody lives 2 blocks away, it's kind of a pain in the ass to drive across town to be spending
Right.
80% of your time together.
Right.
Um,
Logistics.
the other thing about this is interesting. Like you said earlier, that you've been in your house for, what'd you say, 18 years?
Yeah.
And you're probably not planning on leaving. So you meet a guy and he wants to live with you or wants to move in together. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, so I'm moving into Pam's house. Pam has 18 years of history. Pam has, she lived with her husband in this house for
Right.
13, 14 years. She raised her children in this house. This is Pam's house.
Right.
And so for a guy to show up and all of a sudden feel, I don't, comfortable is not the word, but feel like it's part of his world, that will take a lot of time. And so having his own place and staying away, that's not the right word, but having his own place, and so he
Living
doesn't,
apart together.
yeah, living apart together. And it reminds me when I got divorced after my first divorce, my ex's new husband moved right into our old house. And I remember showing up like the week or two after they got married to go pick up my kids, and he answered the door. And all I could think of, and I said it right out loud, I go, "Hey, mi casa es su casa."
Yeah, literally.
So anyway, that to me is kind of that's just one more
Yeah.
thing to think about.
I mean, that's definitely true that, when somebody's going to have to move if you live with them, and the other person is going to stay where they have been comfortable. I mean, my house is completely decorated the way that I want it to be decorated.
Mhm.
Luckily, that was one of the very few things my ex-husband didn't fight me on, was decorating the house. And he had an opinion about everything, but I got to decorate the house exactly how I wanted to. Um, and so I have thought over, over the last few years, what would it look like? Well, I was dating, I was in a relationship that ended last month, and we had spoken about living together at some point, and he had some really strong feelings about, whether it was the grass looking a certain way or what was going to go on the counter or switches, whatever. He had some strong feelings. And, it's very hard to listen to somebody talk about the things they want to change about your home. But at the same time, as I was saying, if I met somebody where that was conducive to the relationship and that was the only way that the relationship could flourish, I'm not saying that I would never live with somebody.
Right.
I used to say I would never get remarried, and I still feel that way. But I ask myself if it was really important. And I think it's probably you saying this in the past, that if you were with somebody and it was that important to them, I don't know whether you said you would do it or you would think about it, but you have thought about it.
Sure.
And, if I was in a relationship and he didn't mind signing a pretty giant prenup, yeah, I can't say that I would never get remarried or never live with somebody again. It's just a lot of work to live with somebody and then to marry them at 57. You have a lot of things that need to change and a lot of money that needs to be structured. And I think after my last divorce, my dad, who hires the lawyers for our family's prenup, said, I'm never, ever paying for another one of your prenups.
Wow.
Because, yeah, been married twice. I might have been engaged a third time. There's been a lot of prenups. And that's the trickle down theory. Nikki's fiance will have to sign a prenup. Prenups are big in our family. So to not live with somebody and not get married, maybe that's simpler at my age. But
Well, I'll just throw one thing out there. I'm not an attorney. I will never say I'm an attorney, so please don't take this as legal advice, anyone out there. But I did run an online divorce business for 3.5 years, so I did learn a few things. And one of the things that I learned is that sometimes cohabitation is actually stickier and more difficult to split up than an actual marriage. Because marriage, there's actually a prescriptive law and process to split property and stuff like that. Whereas if you're just living together, well, who knows? That's the thing. A marriage certificate is nothing more than a contract with the government that says that this person gets my shit when I die.
Right. And you're 100% right about living together, because I lived with somebody. I was engaged to him, but we were never married. And he, out of every relationship I've had, including my marriages, it was this one guy who sued me for half of the house that we lived in. And he moved into my house. We only lived together 6 months. And then when it didn't work out, and we both acknowledged that it wasn't going to work out, he wanted me to write him a check for half of the value in my house because he had lived there for 6 months. And we wound up having to go and hire lawyers, and we wound up mediating it. He got a big fat check to get out of my house. So sometimes there's something to be said for prenups and contracts. Yep. But I don't look, if you don't live with somebody, if you just live apart together, you don't need to worry about any of that. You just keep your own stuff. You keep your own money, and
maybe it's the right way.
Maybe you get all the best, the travel, the affection. Hopefully he comes over and fixes stuff around the house for you, and you go over there and cook some meals for him. Quid pro quo. Whoa, I can't say it.
Yeah, I can't say it fast either.
Quid
pro quo.
Yes, quid pro quo. So you guys out there that are listening, you can write in and let us know. Would you live apart together? Are you definitely looking for marriage? You have no interest in any of this. Maybe you think I'm crazy because I think that it'd be nice to have your own space. Tell me. I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, I would be very interested in that, because it's a great concept. I don't know if I could personally live it that way. I don't know.
You want the 24/7.
No, I don't want the 24/7. I mean, there needs to be alone time. I just don't know if I want to maintain 2 households, or if I want to pay for 2 households, or pay for mine and then she pays for her. I don't know. It just seems like a waste.
I was going to say, you don't pay. I think in this situation, each person is paying for their own. So you'd only have to pay. But yeah, there's definitely something to be said for living with somebody, because it splits your bills in half. So you have a lot more disposable income. So, I'm not 100% opposed to living with somebody, but we would have to be completely aligned on, our expectations. So make sure before you live with somebody that you sit down and have a really good talk about what you want and what they want, and make sure that you guys are on the same page.
Absolutely.
Then you can sign a contract if you want to, or
Yeah.
you don't have to.
I would.
All right. Well, now
Let's
that
go on.
Spotify, all right, we can move on. But before we do, Spotify is now showing this video. So you can watch this like you do on YouTube on Spotify, and you can leave a comment right on Spotify if that's where you listen to the podcast. And I read all of those too.
That's awesome.
Now we can move on. Is there a second part to the show?
I think so.
You've got mail.
You're so good at that, Brian. All right, here we go. Pam and Tom, love your show. Listen every week. I thought of you when I was looking for advice from someone outside of my circle. I've been with my boyfriend for almost 2 years and we live together. We are both divorced after long marriages and have no small kids. Our families have merged really well. When we first moved in together, it was with the intention of getting engaged and married. Now, when I bring up those things, he says he's happy with how things are. And he reminds me that marriage didn't work for us in the past. I want to be married though. I truly love him and his kids. I don't want to lose him by pushing the subject, but this is very important to me. I could use some advice on whether I'm being unreasonable, because he's not wrong that I have failed at marriage before. If he had told me in the beginning that he didn't want to marry, I wouldn't have dated him. She signed it. I want the contract.
Wow.
How was that for our show, the no contract show?
Yeah. That's a perfect email for today.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And I pick the email before I know what our topic is. So this just happened. She should have just lived apart together.
Yeah, exactly. I guess my question, and again, I guess is almost a continuation of the last, like what we just finished talking about. It sucks that he changed his mind. Although I want, obviously it's eye of the beholder. Maybe he never intended to, and maybe she just assumed. We'll never know.
On him.
But I guess I just don't understand what's so important. She says she loves him. She loves his kids. The family's merged really well. I mean, the only thing missing is a fucking piece of paper. That seems ridiculous to me.
Oh, come on. I don't know how old she is, but like if
Long marriages, kids are grown.
Okay, so let's say they're in their 40s.
Okay.
She went into this relationship with him based on a lie. So let's start there. He said, let's move in together. I want to get married someday. She said, that's great. Now it's not like he's saying, I'm not ready to get married. He's saying, I don't think we need to get married. Why do we need to get married? We failed at this. If somebody on a dating app was to say, on my dating app, it actually says that I'm not looking for marriage. So whether I'm sure that's not on her dating app. I'm going at dating apps this time completely different. And I find it much more successful than being vague and trying to just draw in as many people as you can. But it sounds to me like she told him from the beginning that she wanted to be married. And I know how you and I feel, but I know that a lot of people really want to be married again. They want that, whatever the stability is that comes from standing in front of your friends and family, having a wedding, saying I do, just really that commingling of everything. And he told her he was going to do that. And now he says he doesn't want to do that. So it's not really to me about the contract or the marriage. It's about the why.
Well, okay. So what we don't know, I mean, she says that they both had the intention, and maybe he did.
Okay.
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he lied. But maybe he's just, I'm going to say the words, maybe he's just grown up and realized it's a fucking piece of paper that means nothing.
And that's very possible. But this is an impossibly hard email. And this is an impossibly hard situation because you have two people that are making rational arguments for how they see their future based on their past. But their past was their past when they met.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like she moved in with them thinking this is a trial run to make sure we want to get married. I mean, ironically, my daughter is going to move in with her boyfriend. He lives in a townhouse. He rents it. It's small, but it's fine, and it's very important that they see if they can live together before they get engaged. So she agreed to move into his townhome until the end of his lease. So it's about 5 months that she will live in his townhome. But she did that on the contingency that they're going to get engaged and get married. And then move at the end of his lease into a property that they probably wouldn't be able to afford on their own. And they're going to sign, a lease together. But she wants to be engaged to do that. And so if he said, well, let's just move into this place and then we'll talk about getting engaged. And she said, all right, but if you're sure, this is what I want. This is what we've been talking about for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. And they move into a place together and they don't have kids, but this couple does. They've commingled their families. And she says, all right, I'm ready for the engagement and all the things we talked about. And he said, you know what? I thought about it and I don't want to get married. Maybe I'm not even sure I want to have kids. And none of this is something this is nothing that's happened, but it's just an example of people can change their minds.
Mm-hmm.
So, with respect to him changing his mind, where does that leave her now?
Well,
she's living with him and his children.
I think that she put it perfectly. She said, I don't want to lose him by pushing the subject, but it's important to me. So what it comes down to, she said it perfectly right there, is being with him more important than having a piece of paper. Those are your two choices. I mean, it sounds like.
Sucks. That sucks. That
Yeah.
just that's like you have to sacrifice what you really want to be with somebody that you love. That, I'm sorry, but in my mind, he's lied. Even if he didn't go into it lying, like I'm positive that over those 2 years, she didn't never bring up getting married. She doesn't sound like somebody who didn't have her eye on this particular prize. So I'm sure it has come up over time. And whether it has or not, this was the deal. Let's move in, let's merge our families. I don't blame them for wanting to make sure that worked before they got married. What's the negative to him marrying the woman that he said he would marry?
That part, I mean, in fact, we just talked about it in the last segment. If I find somebody, I will never be the one to bring up marriage. I put it that way. But if she brings it up and she says, hey, we're not going to get together unless you're willing to marry me at some point. And I'll have a very frank conversation and say, look, I don't give a shit about marriage, but if it's important to you, I'll do it for you. So from that standpoint, I don't understand what his problem would be, because if you're living together and you love each other, your kids get along, if everything is going well, it's not the marriage itself that caused your relationship with your ex-wife or ex-spouse to fail. That's what when he says, oh, I did fail at marriage before. Well, okay. Just again, a piece of paper is not what caused the failure. A piece of paper doesn't protect you from failure.
Right.
A piece of paper is a contract with the government. That's all it is a contract with the government that says she gets my shit when I die. That's it. That's all a marriage is.
Right. And you know what? You can also have a last will and testament. And I don't know how that works with the marriage, but what about a prenup? Like I was talking about prenups earlier. Like if it's about money, maybe they haven't thought about the fact that they can protect themselves completely going into this marriage and say, look, whatever we have now, they're living together. I doubt, maybe they have a joint account, maybe they don't, but it's never too late to separate your assets and protect yourself so that you can be married to somebody. I mean, at the end of the day, that's probably the only reason, even though I'm married twice and divorced twice, the only reason that I talk about not wanting to get married ever again is because the thought of another prenup is just kind of agonizing for me. And it's not even my money. I don't even have that much money. It's family money, but it's somebody else worked hard for that. And nobody I marry is ever going to walk away with that money. So anybody who ever meets me and is like, oh, she's going to have money, you're not going to have it. If you're living with me and if we're either living together or married with or without a prenup and I'm happy, I'll spend it on you. But if it doesn't work out, you're going to go with your tail between your legs and not one fucking dollar from me.
I love that. I think that's perfect. But
so my advice is God, I don't even know. I don't know what my advice is. I would hate for her to walk away from somebody that she loves, but if marriage is really important to her, I think she's kind of screwed. I mean, she's moved in with him. The kids are happy. I guess at that point, I would probably stay. But if I'm 100% honest, I don't know that my heart or my head would be all the way in it, knowing that I believed we were going to be married and now we're not.
Yeah, for me, I mean, obviously my advice is biased because I think marriage is stupid at this point, but the way she signed it, I want the contract.
Right.
I mean, it seems to me that she in her own head has decided that the contract is more important than the relationship. It sounds like that to me.
Maybe just maybe it's the romance. Maybe she wants a wedding. Maybe she's embarrassed. Maybe she's one of those people who really believes that a good relationship leads to marriage. And if they've been talking about getting married, or if that was the plan, I'm sure she's told all of her friends and family, yes, we're getting married someday. In her head, she's probably imagined herself in a wedding dress again. It's kind of horrible to take that away from her. I feel like he lied. Whether he lied then or he lied now, I don't know whether I could trust him. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if he lied. I mean, maybe he just changed his mind. Maybe he lied. We don't know. All I know is at this stage, she has a choice to make. And she might have to make that choice for the rest of her life. Because if she spends, I mean, if we say she's in her 40s, she's got another 40 or 50 years. If she's going to be pissed off at him for the next 40 or 50 years
Right.
for quote lying, yeah,
That's
you probably
tough.
ought to leave.
But remember what's waiting for you out there, because
Oh
it
my
ain't
gosh.
pretty. So if he's a great guy and you love him and this relationship is everything that you want in a relationship, I would stay, because
Yep.
even though I would be disillusioned by the fact that you had lied to me, I would be, I'm jaded.
Yeah. Well, hey,
At the
here's
end of the day,
my
I'm
advice.
jaded.
Here's
Huh?
my advice.
I'm ready.
Maybe you meet in the middle. Maybe she does want the party. Maybe she does want to wear the dress. So have a civil union party or whatever, just have a party and act like you're getting married. And then you don't have to do the contract, but you can have the party. But if you literally need the contract, yeah, then you're screwed.
And I guess figure out why.
Yeah.
Why, like we talk about not really wanting to get married again when we meet somebody. We would prefer to just live apart together or live together, but not get married. And so I want the contract needs to really look at why the contract is so important at this point in our life. Because you have a choice to make. You either are going to choose him or you're going to choose trying to start over and find somebody that will marry you. But at the end of the day, maybe, just maybe, if he feels like he's going to lose you over not getting married, maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe you guys need therapy.
There you go. Yeah. So she reached out to us as someone not in their circle. Maybe you should reach out to a professional not in your circle.
Yeah. We've done a really good job at both feeling confused about what you should do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we wish you luck.
Good
luck.
On
that note, we do appreciate your emails and we do really try our best to help, but there are some things that our 4 divorces work against us in giving advice to. But please send us your emails, talkingphase@gmail.com. I read every single one of them. We pick the ones that we're going to read on the show. This one, maybe we shouldn't have read because I'm not sure we did any help, but we usually do, I think, at least give you 2 pretty good opinions to choose from. We love hearing from you. So if you have any questions, if you want to just tell us how you feel about living apart together, or if you want to tell us whether you would stay with him or whether you would drop kick him and go look for somebody to marry you, leave it in the comments on Spotify or on YouTube, or send us an email, talkingphase@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for helping to grow our Talking Phase family by rating, reviewing, sharing, telling your friends and family about the show. If you do take a few minutes to rate and review, make sure you write a couple of words. Doesn't have to be anything special, but we love to hear from you. Does it make sense to be together emotionally, but not physically? Or is marriage important, or is it just a piece of paper? Yeah. So by the way,
without a prenup, it's really just a piece of paper.
Right. We do this every single Friday, even though we record these usually on Tuesdays, but we drop these every Friday, sometimes before Thanksgiving, or what are we calling it, Halloween? And sometimes after Halloween.
Before 10 a.m., sometimes 8 a.m. It'll be there sometime
It'll be there
Friday.
on Friday morning. Yes. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Pam does an amazing job curating some great content out there. And with that, until next Friday, my name is Tom. This is my co-host Pam. We are signing off.
I hope you had a happy Halloween. Have a great day, week, month. Happy Thanksgiving. See you later.
Spooky.